All right, ladies and gentlemen, our next session is about to begin. We're going to request everyone to please take your seats. And everyone in the pre-function area, we're going to have you all please come inside and take your seats as well. Our next set of speakers are about to arrive and we're about to get the next session started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we're about to get started with our next session shortly, let me also take the opportunity to thank our partners as well. The Global FinTech Fest 2023 is co-powered by Google Pay and Amazon Pay, brought to you by HDFC Bank and State Bank of India, our technology partner Perfios, associate partner PhonePe and Razorpay, payment enabler, associate partner Lyra. Global payments partner Discover Global Networks, badge partner M2P, agenda partner HSBC, registration partner Visa, and platinum partner NABARD, Paytm, Unity Small Finance Bank. We've been having such pioneering leaders with their pioneering presence who've been here, sharing their nuggets of wisdom with us, the way forward, and let's continue to do so as we now focus on empowering financial inclusion through fintech innovation. And this is where we'll understand Nepal's journey towards a more inclusive financial landscape. Well, ladies and gentlemen, to spearhead the session, we have with us Mohan Tangsale, who's a strategic consultant, Swift India Domestic Services, and this afternoon, we have the august presence of our revered speaker, none other than Shri Mahaprasad Adhikari, Governor, Nepal Rashtra Bank. So can we have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Let's have a towering round of applause to give a grand welcome to Shri Mahaprasad Adhikari, Governor, Nepal Rashtra Bank. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. May I please invite you to please come on stage, and may I also please invite Mr. Mohan Tangsale to take forward this session for us and to also ensure that we gather a lot more about empowering this financial inclusion as we understand Nepal's journey. Thank you very much for joining us. And with that, I'd like to hand over the proceedings to Mr. Tangsale. Over to you, sir.
Very good afternoon. It's a privilege to host Mr. Mahaprasad Adhikari, who is the chairperson of the Board of Directors and 17th Governor of Nepal Rashtra Bank, which is the Central Bank of Nepal. I think it's a great opportunity to have our neighbors here and explore the opportunity for the fintech world who would love to get associated there. Mr. Adhikari, prior to his appointment as the Governor of National Rashtra Bank, has served as the Chief Executive Officer at the Investment Board of Nepal, Government of Nepal, and Deputy Governor of the National Rashtra Bank. Under his leadership, under the Investment Board of Nepal, he organized 2 mega international investment summits in 2017 and 19 to invite the investors for the large projects, including infrastructure projects. He has played a leading role in various financial sector policies and financial sector reforms in the country, addressing the problem bank resolution, capital adequacy framework, risk-based supervision, and early warning system, prompt corrective actions, etc. He is currently a member of the Board of Directors at the Alliance for Financial Inclusion since 2020 and Vice Chair of the South Asia Regional Financial Inclusion Initiative of AFI for the period 22-23. In the recent past, he served as the Chairman of the SARC Finance, whose members comprise of the SARC Central Bank Governors and Finance Secretaries. The most interesting part is Mr. Adhikari is a Chartered Accountant from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, as also a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nepal. That's great, Mr. Adhikari. He has also served as a member of the various committees on the ICANN and as a member of the Committee for Improvement in Transparency, Accountability, Governance of South Asian Federation of Accountants. With these words, I welcome Mr. Adhikari to give the initial remark before we get into the interactions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sri Mohan.
देश भली भांति पहचान गया और इसीलिए 2019 में फिर एक बार हम सबको सेवा करने का मौका दिया और अधिक मजबूती के साथ दिया। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, इस सदन में बैठे हुए प्रत्येक व्यक्ति की जिम्मेदारी है कि वो भारत के युवाओं के सपनों को, उनकी महत्वाकांक्षाओं को, उनकी आशा अपेक्षा के मुताबिक वो जो काम करना चाहता है उसके लिए हम अवसर दें। सरकार में रहते हुए हमने भी इस दायित्व को निभाने का भरपूर प्रयास किया है। हमने भारत के युवाओं को घोटालों से रहित सरकार दी है। हमने भारत के युवाओं को, आज के हमारे प्रोफेशनल्स को खुले आसमान में उड़ने के लिए हौसला दिया है, अवसर दिया है। हमने दुनिया में भारत की बिगड़ी हुई साख उसको भी संभाला है और उसे फिर एक बार नई ऊंचाइयों पर ले गए हैं। अभी भी कुछ लोग कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि दुनिया में हमारी साख को दाग लग जाए, लेकिन दुनिया देश को जान चुकी है। दुनिया के भविष्य में भारत किस प्रकार से योगदान दे सकता है, ये विश्व का विश्वास बढ़ता चला जा रहा है। और इस दौरान हमारे विपक्ष के साथियों ने क्या किया? जब इतनी सानुकूल वातावरण, चारों तरफ संभावनाएं ही संभावनाएं, इन्होंने अविश्वास के प्रस्ताव की आड़ में जनता के आत्मविश्वास को तोड़ने की विफल कोशिश की है। आज भारत के युवा रिकॉर्ड संख्या में नए स्टार्टअप लेकर के दुनिया को चकित कर रहे हैं। आज भारत में रिकॉर्ड विदेशी निवेश आ रहा है। आज भारत का एक्सपोर्ट नई बुलंदी को छू रहा है। आज भारत की कोई भी अच्छी बात ये सुन नहीं सकते। यही उनकी अवस्था है। आज गरीब के दिल में अपने सपने पूरा करने का भरोसा पैदा हुआ है। आज देश में गरीबी तेजी से घट रही है। नीति आयोग के रिपोर्ट के अनुसार पिछले 5 साल में 13.5 करोड़ लोग गरीबी से बाहर आए। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, आईएमएफ अपने एक वर्किंग पेपर में लिखता है कि भारत ने अति गरीबी को करीब करीब खत्म कर दिया है। आईएमएफ ने भारत के डीबीटी के और दूसरे हमारे सोशल वेलफेयर स्कीम के लिए आईएमएफ ने इसे कहा है ये लॉजिस्टिकल मार्वल है। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, डब्ल्यूएचओ ने कहा है, आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने कहा है कि जल जीवन मिशन के जरिए भारत में 4 लाख लोगों की जान बच रही है। ये 4 लाख कौन है? तो मेरे गरीब, पीड़ित, शोषित, वंचित परिवारों के मेरे स्वजन है। हमारे परिवार के निचले तबके में जिंदगी गुजारने के लिए जो मजबूर हुए उनके जन हैं। ऐसे 4 लाख लोगों की जान बचने की बात डब्ल्यूएचओ कह रहा है। एनालिसिस करके के कहता है कि स्वच्छ भारत अभियान से 3 लाख लोगों को मरने से बचाया गया है। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, भारत स्वच्छ होता है, 3 लाख लोगों की जिंदगी बचती है। 3 लाख है कौन? वही झुग्गी झोपड़ी में जिंदगी जीने के लिए जो मजबूर है, जिनके लिए अनेक कठिनाइयों से गुजारा करना पड़ता है। मेरे गरीब परिवार के लोग हैं, शहरों की बस्तियों में गुजारा करने वाले लोग हैं, गांव में जीने वाले लोग हैं और वंचित तबके के लोग हैं जिनकी जान बची है। यूनिसेफ ने क्या कहा है? यूनिसेफ ने कहा है कि स्वच्छ भारत अभियान के कारण हर साल गरीबों के 50,000 रुपये बच रहे हैं। ये लेकिन भारत की इन उपलब्धियों से कांग्रेस समेत विपक्ष के कुछ लोग दलों को अविश्वास है। जो सच्चाई दुनिया दूर से देख रही है, ये लोग यहां रहते हैं दिखती नहीं है। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, अविश्वास और घमंड इनकी रगों में रस बस गया है। वे जनता के विश्वास को कभी देख नहीं पाते हैं। अब ये जो शुतुरमुर्ग अप्रोच है, इसके लिए तो देश क्या कर सकता है? आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, जो पुरानी सोच वाले लोग रहते हैं, वो उस सोच से सहमत नहीं, लेकिन वो कहते हैं कि देखो भाई, जब कुछ शुभ होता है, कुछ मंगल होता है, घर में भी कोई अच्छा होता है, बच्चे भी कोई अच्छे कपड़े पहनता है, जरा साफ सुथरा होता है, तो काला टीका लगा देते हैं। आज देश का जो मंगल हो रहा है चारों तरफ, देश की जो चारों तरफ वाहवाही हो रही है, देश का जो जय जयकार हो रहा है, तो मैं आपका धन्यवाद करता हूं कि काले टीके के रूप में काले कपड़े में निकल के सदन में आकर के आपने इस मंगल को भी सुरक्षित करने का काम किया है। इसके लिए भी मैं आपका धन्यवाद करता हूं। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, पिछले 3 दिन से भी हमारे विपक्ष के साथियों ने जी भर करके, डिक्शनरी खोल खोल करके जितने अपशब्द मिलते हैं ले आए, जितने अपशब्दों का उपयोग कर सकते हैं भरपूर, पता नहीं कहां कहां से ले आते हैं। लेकिन बार उनका निकल गया होगा, थोड़ा मन हल्का हुआ होगा, इतने अपशब्द बोल दिए हैं तो। और और बहस होते हुए लोग मुझे दिन रात कोसते रहते हैं, उनकी ये फितरत है। और उनके लिए तो सबसे प्रिय नारा क्या है? मोदी तेरी कब्र खुदेगी। मोदी तेरी कब्र खुदेगी। मोदी तेरी कब्र खुदेगी। ये इनकी पसंदीदा नारा है। लेकिन मेरे लिए इनकी ये गालियां, ये अपशब्द, ये अलोकतांत्रिक भाषा, मैं उसका भी टॉनिक बना देता हूं। और ये ऐसा क्यों करते हैं और ये क्यों होता है? आज मैं सदन में कुछ सीक्रेट बताना चाहता हूं। मेरा पक्का विश्वास हो गया है कि विपक्ष के लोगों को एक सीक्रेट वरदान मिला हुआ है। हाँ, सीक्रेट वरदान मिला हुआ है। और वरदान ये कि ये लोग जिसका बुरा चाहेंगे उसका भलाई ही होगा। एक उदाहरण तो आप देखिए, मौजूद है। 20 साल हो गए, क्या कुछ नहीं हुआ, क्या कुछ नहीं किया गया, लेकिन भलाई होता गया। तो आपको बड़ा सीक्रेट वरदान है जी। और मैं 3 उदाहरण से ये सीक्रेट वरदान को सिद्ध कर सकता हूं जी। आपको ध्यान होगा कि इन लोगों ने कहा था बैंकिंग सेक्टर के लिए, बैंकिंग सेक्टर डूब जाएगा, बैंकिंग सेक्टर तबाह हो जाएगा, देश खत्म हो जाएगा, देश बर्बाद हो जाएगा, न जाने क्या क्या कहा था। और बड़े बड़े विद्वानों को विदेशों से ले आते थे, उनसे कहलवाते थे, ताकि उनकी बात कोई न माने तो शायद उनकी मान ले। हमारे बैंकों की सेहत को लेकर के भांति भांति की निराशा, अफवाह फैलाने का काम इन्होंने पुरजोश किया। और जब इन्होंने बुरा चाहा बैंकों का, तो हुआ क्या? हमारी पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स नेट प्रॉफिट 2 गुने से ज्यादा हो गया। इन लोगों ने फोन बैंकिंग घोटाले की बात, इसके कारण देश को एनपीए के गंभीर संकट में डुबो दिया था। बीते दिनों की बात हो रही है, लेकिन आज जो उन्होंने एनपीए का अंबर लगा के गए थे, उसको भी पार कर करके और एक नई ताकत के साथ निकल चुके हैं। आज सुबह निर्मला जी ने विस्तार से बताया है कि कितना प्रॉफिट हुआ है। दूसरा उदाहरण, हमारे डिफेंस के हेलीकॉप्टर बनाने वाली सरकारी कंपनी एचएएल, ये एचएएल को लेकर के कितनी भली बुरी बातें इन्होंने करी थी। क्या कुछ नहीं कहा गया था एचएएल के लिए, और इसका दुनिया पे बहुत नुकसान करने वाली भाषा का प्रयोग किया गया था। और एचएएल तबाह हो गया है, एचएएल खत्म हो गया है, भारत की डिफेंस इंडस्ट्री खत्म हो चुकी है। ऐसा न जाने क्या क्या कहा गया था एचएएल के लिए। इतना ही नहीं, जैसे आजकल खेतों में जाकर के वीडियो शूट होता है, मालूम है ना? हाँ? खेतों में जाकर के वीडियो शूट होता है ऐसे लगा कर। हाँ। वैसा ही उस समय HAL फैक्ट्री के दरवाजे पर मजदूरों की सभा करके वीडियो शूट करवाया गया था और वहां के कामगारों को भड़काया गया था। अब तुम्हारा कोई भविष्य नहीं है, तुम्हारे बच्चे मरेंगे, भूखे मरेंगे, HAL डूब रहा है। देश की इतनी महत्वपूर्ण इंस्टीट्यूट को इतना बुरा चाहा, इतना बुरा चाहा, इतना बुरा कहा कि वो सीक्रेट आज HAL सफलता की नई बुलंदियों को छू रहा है। HAL ने अपना हाईएस्ट एवर हाईएस्ट रेवेन्यू रजिस्टर किया है। इनके जी भर करके गंभीर आरोपों के बावजूद भी वहां के कामदारों को, वहां के कर्मचारियों को उकसाने की भरपूर कोशिश के बावजूद भी आज HAL देश की आन बान शान बन के उभरा। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, जिसका बुरा चाहते हैं वो कैसे आगे बढ़ता है, मैं तीसरा उदाहरण देता हूं। आप जानते हैं LIC के लिए क्या क्या कहा गया था? LIC बर्बाद हो गई, गरीबों के पैसे डूब रहे हैं, गरीब कहां जाएगा, बेचारे ने बड़ी मेहनत से LIC में पैसा डाला है। क्या कहें, जितनी उनकी कल्पना शक्ति थी, जितने उनके दरबारियों ने कागज पकड़ा दिए थे, सारे बोल लेते थे वो, सारे बोल लेते थे। लेकिन आज LIC लगातार मजबूत हो रही है। शेयर मार्केट में रुचि रखने वाले को भी ये गुरु मंत्र है कि जो सरकारी कंपनियों को ये लोग गाली देना, आप उसमें दांव लगा दीजिए साहब, अच्छा ही होगा। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, ये लोग देश की जिन संस्थाओं की मृत्यु की घोषणा करते हैं, उन संस्थाओं का भाग्य चमक जाता है। और मुझे विश्वास है कि ये जैसे देश को कोसते हैं, लोकतंत्र को कोसते हैं, मेरा पक्का विश्वास है देश भी मजबूत होने वाला है, लोकतंत्र भी मजबूत होने वाला है और हम तो होने ही वाले हैं। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, ये वो लोग हैं जिन्हें देश के सामर्थ्य पर विश्वास नहीं। इन लोगों को देश के परिश्रम पर विश्वास नहीं है, देश के पराक्रम पर विश्वास नहीं है। कुछ दिन पहले मैंने कहा था कि हमारी सरकार के अगले टर्म में, तीसरे टर्म में, भारत दुनिया की तीसरी टॉप अर्थव्यवस्था बनेगा। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, अब देश के भविष्य पर थोड़ा सा भी भरोसा होता जब हम ये क्लेम करते हैं कि हम आने वाले 5 साल में, नए तीसरे टर्म में, हम देश की इकोनॉमी को तीसरे पर लाएंगे। तो एक जिम्मेवार विपक्ष क्या करता? वो सवाल पूछता, अच्छा भाई बताओ, निर्मला जी बताओ कैसे करने वाले हो, अच्छा मोदी जी बताओ कैसे करने वाले हो, आपका रोड मैप बताओ। ऐसा करते। अब ये भी मुझे सिखाना पड़ रहा है। लेकिन या वो कुछ सुझाव दे सकते थे, ये कुछ सुझाव दे सकते थे, या फिर कहते हम चुनाव में जनता के बीच जाकर के बताएंगे कि ये तीसरे की बात करते हैं, हम तो एक नंबर पे लेके आएंगे और ऐसे ऐसे लेके कुछ तो करते यार। लेकिन हमारे विपक्ष की त्रासदी ये है, और उनके राजनीतिक विमर्श पर गौर कीजिए। देखिए कितना समझदारी के बाद भी क्या अनुभवताहीन बातें सुनने को मिल रही है जी। क्या कहते हैं ये कहते हैं इस लक्ष्य तक पहुंच रहे, कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं, ऐसे ही होने वाला है तीसरे नंबर पे। बताओ, मुझे लगता है कि इसी सोच के कारण वो सोते रहे इतने सालों तक, तो अपने आप होने वाला है। वो कहते हैं बिना कुछ किए। कांग्रेस की माने अगर सब कुछ ऑफ ही अपने आप ही हो जाने वाला है, इसका मतलब है कांग्रेस के पास न नीति है, न भारत के अर्थ जगत के ताकत का पता है। और इसलिए सोए आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, ये वजह है कि कांग्रेस के शासन में भारत गरीबी और गरीबी को बढ़ाता गया। 1991 में देश कंगाल होने की स्थिति में था। कांग्रेस के शासनकाल में अर्थव्यवस्था दुनिया के क्रम में 10, 11, 12 इसके बीच में झोले खाती थी, झूलती रही थी। लेकिन 2014 के बाद भारत ने टॉप 5 में अपनी जगह बना ली। कांग्रेस के लोगों को लगता होगा कि ये कोई जादू से लकड़ी से हुआ है, लेकिन मैं आज सदन को बताना चाहता हूं माननीय अध्यक्ष, रिफॉर्म, परफॉर्म एंड ट्रांसफॉर्म एक निश्चित आयोजन, प्लानिंग और और ये प्लानिंग और परिश्रम की निरंतरता बनी रहेगी। आवश्यकता अनुसार उसमें नए रिफॉर्म होंगे और परफॉर्मेंस के लिए पूरी तरह ताकत को लगाया जाएगा, और परिणाम ये होगी कि हम तीसरे नंबर पर पहुंच के रहेंगे। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, देश का विश्वास मैं शब्दों में भी प्रकट करना चाहता हूं, और देश का विश्वास है कि 2028 में तब ये देश पहले 3 में होगा। ये देश का विश्वास है। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, हमारे विपक्ष के मित्रों के फितरत में ही अविश्वास भरा पड़ा है। हमने लाल किले से स्वच्छ भारत अभियान का आह्वान किया, लेकिन उन्होंने हमेशा अविश्वास जताया। कैसे हो सकता है? गांधी जी भी आके गए, करके कह के गए, क्या हुआ? अब स्वच्छता कैसे हो सकती है? अविश्वास से भरी हुई इनकी सोच है। हमने मां बेटी को खुले में शौच से मुक्त करने के लिए, उस मजबूरी से मुक्त होने के लिए शौचालय जैसी जरूरत पे जोर दिया। और तब ये कह रहे हैं क्या लाल किले से ऐसे विषय बोले जाते हैं क्या ये देश की प्राथमिकता होती है क्या? हमने जब जनधन खाते खोलने की बात की तब भी यही बात निराशा की। क्या होता है जनधन खाता? उनके हाथ में पैसे कहां है, उनका जेब में क्या पड़ा है, क्या लेके आएंगे, क्या करेंगे? उन्होंने उसके लिए भी निराशा फैलाई। स्टार्टअप तो कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता है। हमने बीजेपी नहीं दिया तो बड़े बड़े विद्वान लोगों ने क्या बात की? जहां गए वहां कांग्रेस पार्टी और उनके दोस्तों का इतिहास रहा है कि उन्हें भारत पर, भारत के सामर्थ्य पर कभी भी भरोसा नहीं रहा है।
भाषण पूरा नहीं हुआ,
आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी,
नो।
और ये विश्वास किस पर करते थे? मैं जरा आज सदन को याद दिलाना चाहता हूं। पाकिस्तान सीमा पर हमले करता था। हमारे यहां आए दिन आतंकवादी भेजा जाता था और उसके बाद पाकिस्तान हाथ ऊपर करके मुकर जाता था, भाग जाता था, बोले हमारी तो कोई जिम्मेवारी नहीं है, कोई जिम्मा लेने को तैयार नहीं होता था। और इनका पाकिस्तान से ऐसा प्रेम था कि वो तुरंत पाकिस्तान की बातों पर विश्वास कर लेते थे। पाकिस्तान कहता था कि आतंकी हमले होते रहेंगे और बातचीत भी होती रहेगी। इन्हें यहां तक कहते भाई पाकिस्तान कह रहा है तो सही कहता होगा, ये इनकी सोच नहीं है। कश्मीर आतंकवाद की आग में दिन रात सुलग रहा था, जलता था, लेकिन कांग्रेस सरकार का काम कश्मीर के आम नागरिकों पर विश्वास नहीं था। वे विश्वास करते थे हुर्रियत पर, वे विश्वास करते थे अलगवादियों के पर, वे विश्वास उन लोगों पर करते थे जो पाकिस्तान का झंडा लेकर के चलते थे। भारत ने आतंकवाद पर सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक किया, भारत ने एयर स्ट्राइक किया। इनको भारत की सेना पर भरोसा नहीं था, उनको दुश्मन के दावों पर भरोसा था। ये इनकी प्रवृत्ति थी। अध्यक्ष महोदय, आज दुनिया में कोई भी भारत के लिए अपशब्द बोलता है तो इन्हें उस पर तुरंत विश्वास हो जाता है, तुरंत उसको कैच कर लेते हैं। ऐसा मैग्नेटिक पावर है कि भारत खिलाफ हर चीजें वो तुरंत पकड़ लेते हैं। जैसे कोई विदेशी एजेंसी कहती है कि भुखमरी का सामना कर रहा कई देश भारत से बेहतर है, ऐसा झूठी बात आएगी तो भी पकड़ लेते और हिंदुस्तान में प्रचार करना शुरू कर देते, प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस कर देते हैं। भारत को बदनाम करने में क्या मजा आता है। दुनिया में कोई भी ऐसी बेतुकी बातों को मिट्टी के ढेले जैसी जिसकी कीमत ना हो, ऐसी बातों को तवज्जो देना ये कांग्रेस की फितरत रही है और तुरंत उसका भारत में एम्पलीफाई करना, प्रचार करना पूरी कोशिश टीम लग जाती है। कोरोना में की महामारी आई, भारत के वैज्ञानिकों ने मेड इन इंडिया वैक्सीन बनाया। उन्हें भारत के वैक्सीन पे भरोसा नहीं, उनको भारत के वैक्सीन पे भरोसा नहीं, विदेशी वैक्सीन पे भरोसा, ये इनकी सोच रही। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, देश के कोटि कोटि नागरिकों ने भारत के वैक्सीन पर विश्वास जताया। इनको भारत के सामर्थ्य पर विश्वास नहीं है, इनको भारत के लोगों पर विश्वास नहीं है। लेकिन इस सदन को मैं बताना चाहता हूं, इस देश का भी, भारत के लोगों का कांग्रेस के प्रति नो कॉन्फिडेंस का भाव बहुत गहरा है। कांग्रेस के प्रति नो कॉन्फिडेंस का भाव बहुत गहरा है भारत के लोगों में। कांग्रेस अपने घमंड से इतनी चूर हो गई है, इतनी भर गई है कि उसको जमीन दिखाई तक देती नहीं है। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, देश के कई हिस्सों में कांग्रेस को जीत दर्ज करने में अनेक दशक लग गए हैं। तमिलनाडु में कांग्रेस की आखिरी बार 1962 में जीत हुई थी। 61 वर्षों से तमिलनाडु के लोग कह रहे हैं कांग्रेस नो कॉन्फिडेंस। तमिलनाडु के लोग कह रहे हैं कांग्रेस। पश्चिम बंगाल में उन्हें आखिरी बार जीत 1972 में मिली थी। पश्चिम बंगाल के लोग 51 सालों से कह रहे हैं कांग्रेस, कांग्रेस। उत्तर प्रदेश और बिहार और गुजरात कांग्रेस आखिरी 1985 में जीती थी। पिछले 38 वर्षों से वहां के लोगों ने कांग्रेस को कहा है, वहां के लोगों ने कांग्रेस को कहा है। त्रिपुरा में उन्हें आखिरी बार 1988 में जीत मिली थी। 35 वर्षों से त्रिपुरा के लोग कांग्रेस को कह रहे हैं कांग्रेस, कांग्रेस। ओडिशा में कांग्रेस को आखिरी बार 1995 में नो कॉन्फिडेंस। कांग्रेस। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी,
सभा की अनुमति हो तो सभा की कार्रवाई इस विषय की समाप्ति तक बढ़ाई जाती है। माननीय सदस्यगण, मैंने पहले भी आग्रह किया था कि नारेबाजी नहीं करेंगे और आप सबने सहमति दी थी। नारेबाजी नहीं करेंगे, न इधर से करेंगे न उधर से करेंगे, नहीं करेंगे दोनों तरफ से नारेबाजी। नो, इधर से भी नहीं करेंगे उधर से भी नारेबाजी। प्लीज, आपने खुद ने व्यवस्था दी थी, नारेबाजी नहीं करेंगे सदन में, नहीं करने किधर से भी नहीं करेंगे। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी,
आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, नागालैंड में कांग्रेस की आखिरी जीत 1988 में हुई थी। यहां के लोग भी 25 वर्षों से कह रहे हैं कांग्रेस, कांग्रेस। दिल्ली, आंध्र प्रदेश और पश्चिम बंगाल में तो जनता ने कांग्रेस के प्रति बार बार नो कॉन्फिडेंस घोषित किया है। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, मैं आज इस मौके पर ये आपके काम की बात बताता हूं। आपके काम की आपकी भलाई के लिए बोल रहा हूं। आप थक जाएंगे। मैं आपकी भलाई की बात बताता हूं। मैं आज इस मौके पर अपनी संवेदना भी व्यक्त करना चाहता हूं। कुछ ही दिन पहले बेंगलुरु में आपने मिलजुल कर करीब करीब 1.5-2 दशक पुराने यूपीए का क्रियाकर्म किया है, उसका अंतिम संस्कार किया है। लोकतांत्रिक व्यवहार के मुताबिक मुझे तभी आपको सहानुभूति जरूर व्यक्त करनी चाहिए थी, संवेदना व्यक्त करनी चाहिए थी, लेकिन देरी में मेरा कसूर नहीं है। देरी में मेरा कसूर नहीं है, क्योंकि आप खुद ही एक और यूपीए का क्रियाकर्म कर रहे थे और दूसरी ओर जश्न भी मना रहे थे। और जश्न भी किस बात का? खंडहर पर नया प्लास्टर लगाने का। आप जश्न मना रहे थे खंडहर पर नया प्लास्टर लगाने का। आप जश्न मना रहे थे खेल मशीन पर नया पेंट लगाने का। दशकों पुरानी खटारा गाड़ी को इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल दिखाने के लिए आपने इतना बड़ा मजमा लगाया था। और मजेदार ये कि मजमा खत्म होने से पहले ही उसका क्रेडिट लेने के लिए आप में सिर फुटबॉल शुरू हो गई। मैं हैरान था कि ये गठबंधन लेकर आप जनता के बीच जाएंगे। मैं विपक्ष के साथियों को कहना चाहता हूं, आप जिसके पीछे चल रहे हो, आप जिसके पीछे चल रहे हो, उसको तो इस देश की जबान, इस देश की संस्कार की समझ ही नहीं बची है। पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी ये लोग लाल मिर्च और हरी मिर्च का फर्क नहीं समझ पाए। लेकिन आप में से कई साथियों को मैं जानता हूं। आप सबको भारतीय मानस को जानने वाले लोग, आप लोग भारत के मिजाज को पहचानने वाले लोग हैं। वेश बदलकर धोखा देने की कोशिश करने वालों की हकीकत सामने आ ही जाती है। जिन्हें सिर्फ नाम का सहारा है, जिन्हें सिर्फ नाम का सहारा है, उन्हीं के लिए कहा गया है, दूर युद्ध से भागते, दूर युद्ध से भागते, नाम रखा रणधीर।
सुन ले अध्यक्ष महोदय, यूपीए को लगता है कि देश के नाम का इस्तेमाल करके अपनी विश्वसनीयता बढ़ाई जा सकती है, लेकिन कांग्रेस के सहयोगी दल, कांग्रेस के अटूट साथी तमिलनाडु सरकार में एक मंत्री 2 दिन पहले ही ये
थैंक यू श्री मोहन।
देश भली भांति पहचान ले और इसीलिए
तमिलनाडु तो
2019 में फिर एक बार हम सबको
आदरणीय
सेवा
अध्यक्ष जी,
करने का मौका दिया
आज
और
मैं
अधिक
गर्व के
मजबूती के
कहना
साथ
चाहता हूं, तमिलनाडु वो प्रदेश है,
आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी,
तमिलनाडु वो प्रदेश
इस
है
सदन में बैठे हुए प्रत्येक
हमेशा
व्यक्ति की जिम्मेदारी है
देशभक्ति की
कि वो
धाराएं निकली है।
भारत के युवाओं
तमिलनाडु
के
वो
सपनों
प्रदेश
को,
है जहां हमेशा
उनकी
देशभक्ति की
महत्वाकांक्षा,
धाराएं निकली है। जिस
उनकी
राज्य
आशा
में
अपेक्षा
हमें
के मुताबिक
राजा जी दिए, जिस
वो जो
राज्य ने
काम
हमें
करना चाहता है उसके
कामराज
लिए
दिए,
हम अवसर दें।
जिस राज्य ने हमें एमजीआर दिए, जिस राज्य ने हमें अब्दुल
सरकार
कलाम
में रहते
दिए,
हुए
आज उस
हमने भी
तमिलनाडु
इस
से
दायित्व को
स्वर
निभाने
सुनाई
का
दे रहे
भरपूर
हैं।
प्रयास किया।
आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी,
हमने भारत के युवाओं
आपके
को
अलायंस अंदर ही अंदर ऐसे
घोटालों से
लोग
रहित
हो
सरकार दी है।
जो अपने देश के अस्तित्व को नकारते हो, तो आपकी गाड़ी कहां
हमने
जाकर के रुकेगी? जरा
भारत के युवाओं
आत्मचिंतन
को,
करने का मौका मिले,
आज के
आत्मा
हमारे
बचाओ,
प्रोफेशनल्स को
तो जरूर करिएगा।
खुले आसमान में उड़ने के
आदरणीय
लिए
अध्यक्ष जी,
हौसला दिया है, अवसर दिया।
आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी,
हमने दुनिया में
नाम
भारत
को
की
लेकर
बिगड़ी हुई साख
उनका एक
को भी
चश्मा
संभाला है
आज का
और
नहीं,
उसे फिर एक
नाम को
बार
लेकर
नई
ये जो
ऊंचाइयों
मोह
पर
है ना,
ले गए।
वो उनका आज का नहीं है।
अभी भी कुछ लोग कोशिश कर रहे
ये
हैं कि दुनिया में
दशकों
हमारी
पुराना
साख
चश्मा
को
है।
दाग लग जाए, लेकिन
इन्हें
दुनिया
लगता
देश को
है
जान चुकी है।
कि नाम बदलकर
दुनिया के भविष्य में भारत
देश
इस
पर
प्रकार
राज
से
कर
योगदान
लेगी।
दे सकता है कि विश्व का विश्वास
गरीब
बढ़ता चला
को
जा रहा है।
चारों तरफ उनका नाम तो नजर आता है,
और इस
लेकिन
दौरान
उनका काम कहीं नजर नहीं आता।
हमारे विपक्ष के साथियों ने क्या किया? जब इतनी सानुकूल
अस्पतालों में
वातावरण,
नाम उनके हैं, इलाज नहीं है।
चारों तरफ संभावनाएं ही संभावनाएं,
शैक्षणिक संस्थाएं,
इन्होंने
नाम लटक रहे हैं।
अविश्वास के प्रस्ताव की
सड़कों
आड़
हो,
में
पार्क हो, उनका नाम।
जनता के
गरीब कल्याण की योजनाओं पर
आत्मविश्वास को
उनका नाम।
तोड़ने की
खेल पुरस्कारों पर
विफल
उनका
कोशिश
नाम,
की है।
एयरपोर्ट पे उनका नाम, म्यूजियम
आज
पर उनका
भारत के
नाम।
युवा
अपने नाम से
रिकॉर्ड संख्या
योजनाएं
में
चलाई
नए स्टार्टअप लेकर
और
के
फिर
दुनिया
उन
को
योजनाओं
चकित कर
में
रहे हैं।
हजारों करोड़
आज
के
भारत में
भ्रष्टाचार।
रिकॉर्ड विदेशी निवेश आ रहा है।
समाज के अंतिम छोर पर खड़ा
आज
व्यक्ति
भारत का एक्सपोर्ट
काम होते देखना चाहता था,
नई बुलंदी
लेकिन
को
उसे
छू
मिला
रहा
क्या?
है।
सिर्फ
आज
परिवार का नाम।
भारत की
अध्यक्ष
कोई भी
महोदय,
अच्छी बात ये सुन नहीं सकता।
कांग्रेस की पहचान से जुड़ी
यही उनकी अवस्था है।
उनकी अपनी नहीं,
आज गरीब
कोई
के
चीज
दिल
उनकी
में
अपनी नहीं।
अपने सपने
चुनाव
पूरा
चिन्ह
करने
से
का
लेकर
भरोसा पैदा हुआ है।
विचारों तक सब
आज
कुछ
देश में
कांग्रेस
आज
अपना
देश
होने का
में
दावा
गरीबी
करती
तेजी
है,
से घट रही है।
वो किसी और से लिया हुआ
नीति
है।
आयोग के रिपोर्ट के अनुसार पिछले
आदरणीय
5
अध्यक्ष जी,
साल में
माननीय सदस्य
13.5 करोड़ लोग गरीबी से बाहर आए हैं। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, IMF अपने वर्किंग पेपर में लिखता है
अपनी
कि भारत
कमियों
ने
को
अति गरीबी
ढकने के लिए
को करीब
चुनाव
करीब
चिन्ह
खत्म कर
और
दिया है।
विचारों को भी चुरा लिया। फिर
IMF ने
भी जो बदलाव
भारत
हुए
के डीबीटी के और
उसमें पार्टी का
और
घमंड
दूसरे
भी
हमारे
दिखता
सोशल
है।
वेलफेयर स्कीम के लिए
ये भी
IMF
दिखता
ने इसे
है
कहा है ये लॉजिस्टिकल
कि
मार्वल।
2014 से वो किस
आदरणीय
तरह
अध्यक्ष जी,
डिनायल के मोड में है।
WHO ने कहा है,
पार्टी के संस्थापक कौन?
आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, वर्ल्ड
एओ
हेल्थ
ह्यूम
ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने कहा
एक
है
विदेशी थे
कि जल जीवन
जिन्होंने
मिशन के
पार्टी
जरिए
बनाई।
भारत में
आप जानते
4
हैं
लाख लोगों की जान बच
1920
रही है।
में भारत के स्वतंत्रता
4
संग्राम
लाख
को
कौन है?
एक नई ऊर्जा मिली।
मेरे गरीब, पीड़ित,
1920
शोषित,
में
वंचित
एक नया
परिवारों
ध्वज
के
मिला
मेरे स्वजन है।
और देश ने
हमारे
उस
परिवार
ध्वज
के
को अपना
निचले
लिया।
तबके में जिंदगी
तो
गुजारने के
रातों
लिए
रात
जो मजबूर हुए,
कांग्रेस ने
उनके जन हैं।
उस ध्वज
ऐसे
की
4
ताकत देख
लाख
करके
लोगों की
उसे भी
जान
छीन
बचने
लिया
की बात
और प्रतीक को
WHO कह रहा
देखा
है।
कि ये गाड़ी
एनालिसिस करके
चलाने के लिए ठीक
कहता है
रहेगा। 1920
कि
से
स्वच्छ
खेल चल
भारत
रहा है।
अभियान से
और
3 लाख लोगों को
उनको
मरने
लगा
से
कि तिरंगा
बचाया
झंडा
गया।
देखेंगे तो लोग देखेंगे उनकी बात हो रही है। ये उन्होंने खेल किया।
भारत स्वच्छ
वोटरों को
होता है,
बुलाने
3
के
लाख
लिए
लोगों की जिंदगी बचती है। 3 लाख है
गांधी
कौन?
नाम भी
वही झुग्गी झोपड़ी में जिंदगी जीने के लिए जो मजबूर,
हर बार वो भी
जिनके लिए
चुरा
अनेक
लिया।
कठिनाइयों से गुजारा करना पड़ता है। मेरे गरीब परिवार
कांग्रेस
के
के
लोग
चुनाव चिन्ह देखिए।
शहरों
दो
की
बैल,
बस्तियों में
गाय
गुजारा
बछड़ा
करने वाले लोग,
और फिर
गांव में
हाथ का पंजा।
जीने वाले लोग हैं और
ये सारे उनके
वंचित
कारनामे
तबके के लोग हैं
उनकी
जिनकी जान
हर
बची।
प्रकार की मनोवृत्ति का
यूनिसेफ ने
प्रतिबिंब
क्या
करता
कहा?
है, उसको
यूनिसेफ
प्रकट
ने कहा
करते
है
हैं और ये
कि
साफ
स्वच्छ
दिखाता
भारत
है
अभियान के कारण
कि सब कुछ
हर
एक परिवार
साल
के हाथों में सब
गरीबों के
केंद्रित हो चुका है।
50,000 रुपये बच रहे
आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी,
हैं। ये लेकिन
ये इंडिया गठबंधन नहीं
भारत
है।
की इन उपलब्धियों से,
ये इंडिया गठबंधन नहीं है,
भारत की इन
एक
उपलब्धियों से
घमंडिया गठबंधन है।
कांग्रेस समेत
ये
विपक्ष के
इंडिया
कुछ लोग
गठबंधन
दलों
नहीं
को
है, एक घमंडिया गठबंधन
अविश्वास
है।
है। जो सच्चाई
और
दुनिया
इसकी
दूर से
बात
देख रही है,
में
ये लोग
हर
यहाँ
कोई
रहते
दूल्हा
हैं,
बनना
दिखती नहीं
चाहता
है।
है। सबको प्रधानमंत्री बनना है।
आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, अविश्वास
आदरणीय
और
अध्यक्ष जी,
घमंड
इस
इनकी
गठबंधन ने
रगों
ये भी
में
नहीं सोचा है
रस बस गया है।
कि किस राज्य में आपके साथ आप
वे
किसके
जनता
साथ
के
कहां
विश्वास
पहुंचे
को
हैं।
कभी देख नहीं पाते हैं।
पश्चिम बंगाल में आप
अब ये जो
टीएमसी और कम्युनिस्ट
शुतुरमुर्ग
पार्टी के खिलाफ है
अप्रोच है,
और दिल्ली में
इस
एक साथ है। और अधीर बाबू 1991, अधीर बाबू 1991 पश्चिम बंगाल विधानसभा का चुनाव इन्हीं कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी ने अधीर बाबू साथ क्या व्यवहार किया था वो आज भी इतिहास में दर्ज है। खैर 1991 की बात तो पुरानी है। पिछले साल केरला के वायनाड में जिन लोगों ने कांग्रेस के कार्यालय में तोड़फोड़ की, ये लोग उनके साथ दोस्ती करके बैठे हैं। बाहर से तो अपना लेबल बदल सकते हैं, लेकिन पुराने पापों का क्या होगा, यह पाप आपको लेके डूबेंगे। आप जनता जनार्दन से ये पाप कैसे छिपा पाओगे? आप नहीं छिपा सकते हो। और इनको आज जो हालत, इसलिए मैं कहना चाहता हूं, अभी हालात ऐसे हैं, इसलिए हाथों में हाथ। अभी हालात ऐसे हैं, इसलिए हाथों में हाथ। जहां हालात तो बदले फिर छुरियां भी निकलेगी। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, ये घमंडिया गठबंधन देश में
परिवारवाद की राजनीति का सबसे बड़ा प्रतिबिंब है। देश के स्वाधीनता सेनानियों ने, हमारे संविधान निर्माताओं ने हमेशा परिवारवादी राजनीति का विरोध किया था। महात्मा गांधी, सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल, बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर, डॉक्टर राजेंद्र प्रसाद, मौलाना आजाद, गोपीनाथ बोरडोली, लोकनायक जयप्रकाश, डॉक्टर लोहिया, आप जितने भी नाम देखेंगे, सबने परिवारवाद की खुलकर आलोचना की है, क्योंकि परिवारवाद का नुकसान देश के सामान्य नागरिक को उठाना पड़ता है। परिवार हकों, उसके अधिकारों से वंचित है। इसलिए इन विभूतियों ने हमेशा इस देश पर बात जोर दिया था कि देश को परिवार, नाम और पैसे पर आधारित व्यवस्था से हटना ही होगा। लेकिन कांग्रेस को हमेशा ये बात पसंद नहीं आई। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, हमने हमेशा परिवारवाद का विरोध करने वालों का हमने बराबर देखा है कि उसके प्रति उनकी कैसी नफरत की बात है। कांग्रेस को परिवारवाद पसंद है, कांग्रेस को दरबारवाद पसंद है, जहां बड़े लोग, उनकी बेटे बेटियां भी बड़े पदों पर काबिज हो। जो परिवार से बाहर है, उनके लिए भी यही है कि जब तक आप इस महफिल में दरबारी नहीं बनोगे तो आपका भी कोई भविष्य नहीं है। यही उनकी कार्यशैली रही है। इस दरबार सिस्टम ने कई विकेट लिए, कितनों का हक मारा है इन लोगों ने। बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर कांग्रेस ने जी जान लगाकर 2 बार उनको हरवाया। कांग्रेस के लोग बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर के कपड़ों का मजाक उड़ाते थे। ये वो लोग हैं। बाबू जगजीवन राम, उन्होंने इमरजेंसी पर सवाल उठाए तो बाबू जगजीवन बाबू को भी उन्होंने नहीं छोड़ा, उनको प्रताड़ित किया। मुरारजी भाई देसाई, चरण सिंह, चंद्रशेखर जी, आप कितने ही नाम लीजिए, दरबारवाद के कारण देश के महान लोगों के अधिकारों को इन्होंने हमेशा हमेशा के लिए तबाह कर दिया। यहां तक कि जो दरबारी नहीं थे, जो दरबारवाद से जुड़े नहीं थे, उनके पोर्ट्रेट तक पार्लियामेंट में लगाने से इनको झिझक होती थी। 1990 में उनके पोर्ट्रेट सेंट्रल हॉल में तब लगी जब बीजेपी समर्थित गैर कांग्रेसी सरकार सामने आई। लोहिया जी की पोर्ट्रेट भी संसद में तब लगी जब 1991 में गैर कांग्रेस सरकार बनी। नेताजी की पोर्ट्रेट 1978 में सेंट्रल हॉल में लगाई जब जनता पार्टी की सरकार थी। लाल बहादुर शास्त्री और चरण सिंह, उनका पोर्ट्रेट भी 1993 में गैर परिवार की सरकार में लगा। सरदार पटेल के योगदान को भी कांग्रेस ने हमेशा नकारा। सरदार साहब को समर्पित विश्व की सबसे ऊंची स्टैच्यू ऑफ यूनिटी प्रतिमा बनाने का गौरव भी हमें प्राप्त हुआ। हमारी सरकार ने दिल्ली में पीएम म्यूजियम बनाया, सारे पूर्व प्रधानमंत्रियों को सम्मान दिया। पीएम म्यूजियम दल और पार्टी से ऊपर उठकर सभी प्रधानमंत्रियों को समर्पित है। उनको ये भी नहीं पता है, क्योंकि उनके परिवार के बाहर का कोई भी प्रधानमंत्री बना हो, वो उनको मंजूर नहीं है, वो उनको स्वीकार नहीं है। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, बहुत बार कुछ बुरा बोलने के इरादे से भी जब कोशिश होती है तो कुछ न कुछ सच भी निकल जाता है, और सच में ऐसे अनुभव हम सबको है, कभी कभी सच निकल जाता है। लंका हनुमान ने नहीं जलाई, लंका हनुमान ने नहीं जलाई, उनके घमंड ने जलाई, और ये बिल्कुल सच है। आप देखिए, जनता जनार्दन भी भगवान राम के रूप की है, जनता जनार्दन भी भगवान राम के रूप की है, और इसलिए 400 से 40 हो गए। हनुमान ने लंका नहीं जलाई, घमंड ने जलाई, और इसलिए 440 हो गए, 400 से 40 हो गए। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, सच्चाई तो ये है, देश की जनता ने दो बार 30 साल के बाद पूर्ण बहुमत की सरकार चुनी, लेकिन गरीब का बेटा यहां कैसे बैठा? आपको जो हक था, आप अपनी पारिवारिक पीढ़ी मानते थे, वो यहां कैसे बैठ गया? ये चुभन अभी भी आपको परेशान कर रही है, आपको सोने नहीं देती है, और देश की जनता भी आपको सोने नहीं देगी, 2024 में भी सोने नहीं देगी। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, कभी इनके जन्मदिन पर हवाई जहाज में केक काटे जाते थे, कभी इनके जन्मदिन पर हवाई जहाज में केक काटे जाते थे, आज उस हवाई जहाज में गरीब के लिए वैक्सीन।
Applause for Mr. Kunal Shah, founder and CEO at CRED. I think we have a packed house and we all are very curious and eager to hear from the both of them. Shireen, over to you.
हवाई जहाज से आते थे, आज गरीब हवाई चप्पल वाला
Back here on stage, and I think we couldn't have asked for a better speaker to stir things up. You usually need someone like Kunal Shah, who is agent provocateur on a post-lunch session. So Kunal, it's an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us. You know, we just heard from Vali there a very long introduction with the various achievements and milestones that you've been able to clock as an entrepreneur. But there's another side to this man that I'm going to try and unravel today, and that is the digital yogi side. Kunal, which do you identify with more today in this phase of your life, the entrepreneur or the digital yogi?
I don't know. I guess I think everybody's beard can be classified as yogi, but I think we share one thing in common. We are both philosophy majors on a fintech stage, and I think
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. By the way,
I don't know. I think the need for seeking truth and the need for kind of going beyond the questions of why, I think just allows us to kind of be more thing. And I think in India, anybody who seems to be truth seeking is easily classified as yogi. So I don't know. We have just the bar is low.
Okay, well let's link the two. The aspiration for truth seeking with the second word in our conversation that we're meant to have, money. Can you make money out of truth seeking? Is truth seeking a profitable business model?
That's a great question. If you, and Shirin, you've had the privilege, and I envy you for that part, that you've managed to meet very accomplished people in your life. And when you go really deeper, you'll realize that they are mostly philosophical. When you see at a certain level, they are all some version of truth seekers. And I believe that a lot of, I remember like there's a thing where Shah Rukh Khan is saying that do philosophy after you make money, but I do believe that you cannot make money without really being philosophical about things, because if you are not having depth in what you think, depth in what you know, you're going to mostly remain at surface level, which you'll find everybody at, and very few people have any interest in any depth whatsoever, and surprisingly it's less crowded. The profit pools are also less crowded when you go to depth of things.
You know, let's talk about the profit pools now, Kunal, since we are talking about the big opportunities and the headroom for growth. To start with, I want to understand from you, what is it that you want to be? What do you aspire for Cred to be? Today, we are in a situation where a phone company is trying to be a bank is trying to be a fintech. You know, what is it that you wish to be?
I think internet has enabled many companies to become platforms which can host many businesses. Now with the India stack and all the infrastructure that has happened in the last, digital infrastructure that has happened in the last 10 years and that's coming in the next 10 years, we are all in position to build interesting businesses on top of these platforms. It's not surprising to many Chinese companies when you say, oh, TikTok happens to be the largest e-commerce company now and probably going to be one of the largest lenders in China. For most Chinese, it's not shocking and surprising, because once you build a platform that has engagement, that has users, cross-selling services that otherwise don't classify into things makes it hard to believe. When we grew up, you know, when departmental stores came, we were mostly shocked, acha ye bhi bechta hai, fruit bhi bechta hai, shirt bhi bechta hai, all of that stuff is starting happening. So I think when you can establish an audience, trust with that audience, ability to build multiple businesses on top of that is going to be easy to do. Although it's not easy for everybody to pull off, because you need to get a critical mass of customers to kind of come in. Cred's view was very simple: reward financial behavior, which allows good behavior to happen with money. Most of us are of a generation where we have significantly made more money than our parents did.
Yeah.
And they were not our coaches for money. We are finding coaches on YouTube. We are finding coaches everywhere else. And I think there is a time where good financial behavior is going to be required, while there is a floodgates of credit that's going to open with UPI now coming into the fold. We wanted to just build a company that focuses on good financial behavior and build on top of that. And we also focused on the top end of the customers. Simply the reason is my previous company was built on all of India, and surprisingly everybody showed up over there, and I'm like, okay, now I should build something that is on the opposite side of the spectrum. Also because of the concentration of profit pools is still very skewed towards the top 30-35 million customers, and you've heard that multiple times.
Yeah.
The Kamath brothers have talked about it, Zerodha, to multiple banks, if you study the reports, at the core of it. And I think India is still to go through the per capita income growth challenge, and we've discussed one topic that is kind of connected, is the per capita is not going to happen till female participation of labor increases in the workforce. We cannot magically expect the $5,000 per capita to happen. So focused on top end of customer, rewarding good financial behavior, and simple principle, don't sell a product or service that we would not give it to our family or friends.
Okay, many things that you've said there, Kunal. Let me try and unpack, and we've got about 19 minutes to do that. So let me start to unpack what you said. Is the aspiration to be the department store of the fintech world?
I guess we will not be limited to financial services, is what we see. Let me tell you why I believe that's the case. As much as we love fintech and financial services, the average consumer hates it.
Why does the average consumer hate
Because
fintech?
money causes anxiety in most people, right? Imagine spending 2 hours on an app per day, which is giving you stuff about money. Unless you are a trader who's hooked on to markets, for most people it's an
Which
anxiety-inducing.
has worked very well for the Zerodha brothers.
Yeah, but if you notice an average customer,
Yeah.
they think of financial services app like a petrol pump. Go there quickly, fuel your car, and leave.
Yeah.
Right? And if you really want to build a high quality engagement platform, you have to actually focus on things that actually make people feel joy. And if you happen to be selling financial services over there, so be it. So I think our view of life is to really build a lifestyle first company. Financial services is how we monetize, right? And it's unfortunate, I'll put the philosophy angle over here. It's unfortunate that we are all known by how we make money, but that's not who we are.
Oh, you're not making money yet.
We are. I think making money for fintechs. I mean, we can say what we want, but I think unless we had these loss-making companies, we would have not seen the fintech growth that we have seen so far, right? A bulk of the UPI growth has come subsidized, and a lot of other entities kind of supporting these growth stories. And I think they're all investing behind these initiatives because it creates distribution, it creates a change of behavior. And I think we are going to see a long time before kind of profits come in for these. And it's not something that it's harder for some of the companies to now achieve. Many companies, I would say, in the unicorns, majority of the companies that have managed to cross $100 million or $200 million revenue run rate are all financial services or fintechs, right? And it's very hard in other categories. Like, you know, I mentioned this before, but like there are 183 companies that have more than 1,000 crores PAT, and I would say 40% of that PAT is financial services.
Yeah.
And funny enough, like the total number of retail companies in the 183 companies with 1,000 crores plus PAT is 2, maybe 2 or less than 2. The thing is, we are far away from like expecting profit pools and something else, but financial services can make money.
The question is when.
The question is when, and if you have investors who support your ambition to kind of build the scale, we found ourselves in a very, like a good, lucky opportunity. We focused on credit cards and credit, and since then the whole market has kind of changed. COVID was a huge accelerant to credit behavior. We are seeing now with credit on UPI, all of these things are going to get into a great mode. We find ourselves in a very lucky spot to be building. To me, making money, large-scale revenues and profits, I think it's a choice that companies will make based on what kind of a capital support they can grow to match their ambitions.
Okay, I don't want to labor on this too much, but I still want to understand from you. You know, many people, and what I'm hearing from you as well, is that it's if we bring down marketing spends, if we bring down advertising spends, we will be profitable. It almost seems like it's a switch that you want to turn on and off, but you haven't decided when you want to turn that switch on and off. When do you believe that you will be ready to turn off that advertising and marketing switch to be able to get to profitability?
Well, our focus was to focus on customers who currently have good credit scores and a credit card. That's the focus customer we have. And today we have, I would say, 35 to 37% of the market share. We want to probably get to 50-55% market. We have significantly reduced our marketing spends because the brand is already kind of known. Actually, I'm curious, how many of you use Cred over here? Okay,
That's
like,
not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
Not
Thank you.
not
For
bad at all.
others who are curious, this is a good time to explore what the app is about. The intent is to like keep coming to this conference and see if till the whole room kind of almost raises a hand, because almost everybody has. How many of you do not have a credit card over here? Yeah, so that's my target market. And I just need to see maybe at a 60-70% penetration over here, and we can choose to not do marketing. But there is one interesting trend that is happening in marketing. When we started our customer acquisition cost, let's say if it was X, today we are operating at 1/10 of that customer acquisition cost. And by the way, even then the customer acquisition cost was significantly lower than what, let's say, a credit card company would have paid to acquire that customer. So I think for us,
So what's brought down the cost of acquisition? Just the fact that there is more latency as far as the brand is concerned, or has something changed in the competitive landscape, or has something changed as far as consumer behavior is concerned?
I think 3-4 things. First, us kind of front-loading the brand investments, like investing in things like IPL, investing in like advertisements and all of that. Financial services, unfortunately, if you're building a consumer brand, requires consumers to feel trust that you are somebody with some credibility that they want to kind of, like credit card bills, a large amount of money that people need to do with an app that is like, we are going to be 5 years old in November.
Yeah.
Right? So I think doing that requires some amount of upfront brand investments. And other thing is just the market environment is kind of, because the capital environment kind of dried up, reduced the competitive intensity. Also, consumers are way more savvier about digital things. They are looking to do almost everything digitally. So, for example, we launched UPI maybe a few months ago, like 5-6 months ago, and we've already kind of seen ourselves get to the number 4 spot with still focused on a very small customer base. So, and this is surprising behavior to us as well. By the way, interesting data for you. Credit card customers do more transactions on UPI than they do on credit cards in terms of count of transactions. And that obviously, like, it was not on our roadmap to kind of go into scan and pay P2P, but we realized that these customers are actually, you know, this is like the old times where we used to have expensive cell networks, and there should be this outgoing people and incoming people.
Yeah.
Today we are noticing that the credit card customers are probably playing the big outgoing role because they spend a lot of money on UPI and transfer money, and many UPI handles, my gut tells me that they are still on the incoming basis. And very soon they're going to become outgoing as well when they start using that to scan and pay. So I think we're going to see the waves of growth in UPI and cohorts, which is going to be exciting.
You know, you talked about the fact that you're going to be turning 5 now, Kunal, and you gave us a glimpse of what this journey has been like, this 5-year journey has been like. Have you mapped out what the next 5 years potentially could look like? What is the aspiration that you have over the next 5 years?
I think creating more things that this cohort of customer values, be it, so we have built a small shopping platform that is helping D2C brands kind of host their products, and we have a zero commission store which kind of, like today for most brands that are listed on our platform, we do equal amount of sales that they get to many other major platforms on their thing. And I think just our ability to just launch a service and see that traction grow gives us the confidence that as long as we do a good job, as a company, we do not have the philosophy to be first in everything, like be part of everything first, but do it right. Do it with something that people will appreciate the quality behind the effort, and build for a cohort that is more discerning. So we'll keep doing that. So in terms of should we focus only on financial services, the answer is no. Should we focus on making money on cross-selling? So, and even in financial services, we cross-sell for banks, NBFCs, insurance companies. We just want to keep building a superior engagement platform that allows seamless offering of some of these services now. And I think there was a time where it was unclear what is the role of a fintech, a bank. All of these were like many years ago. You mentioned about me being on a panel, and it was a hot topic that where does the line start and end. But I think we have all found, and thanks to very...
So the lines are much more blurred today and almost sort of merging, aren't they?
I think it's just a coexistence. I often refer
to... Is it a happy marriage?
I think marriage is a big word to use. I think there is a coexistence at this point of time. What I know for a fact that everybody has realized what value each party brings to the table. I believe fintechs are nothing but these new fancy branches which customers love to go to, right? And therefore, cross-selling at these places, you may or may not want, but if some banks benefit from doing that, other banks will kind of take a notice and want to be there, right? And I think there was a time where you could only withdraw money from inside a bank. Then slowly it became an ATM inside the bank. Then it became an ATM outside the bank. And now the most used ATM is at the mall now, right? So I think financial services is going to go through the same journey where cross-sell will happen at platforms that have the highest amount of engagement, highest amount of time spent, and the joy of actually feeling like going over there. And I think, therefore, the battle is going to be of engagement, more about the ownership of customers is not a function of who's registered with you. It's about where do they spend their time.
Fair enough. But, and I was talking to Mr. Kamath just before this, and he said one of the big things that he expects to see is consolidation, with banks actually going after fintechs to take this collaboration and this partnership story forward. If a bank were to come calling today or a couple of years down the line, what would your response be?
My first company, FreeCharge, was sold to Snapdeal, and Snapdeal has ended up selling it to Axis Bank. It still continues to do well. My view is that these lines are going to merge. I think there are going to be very strong partnerships that will emerge, either with some strategic things happening between these parties. And it's happened in most markets where fintech has been a little bit, let's say, at least China, you see that these lines were kind of merged in very interesting ways. I think we now are at a time where there is a clear realization that, okay, these guys can do this well, and it's very hard for us to change DNA. For example, do we foresee that, we'll become, let's say, the best lender or best underwriter or best insurance underwriter? No, I think there are
But
best
that's not your
companies.
aspiration.
And we don't think we'll ever be good at that. There are things that we are good at in terms of customer engagement, experience, and I think that's going to be a very clear thing that, okay, ultimately it's going to be about partnership and creating this storefronts that people love going to.
You didn't answer my question. If a bank were to come calling?
I don't know. I would love for that to happen. Would it make sense to do it or not? Will require a very different level of discussion. But I think, I don't know what is happening is, I don't see that the strategic discussions are already happening now. I don't think it's reached to a point where there'll be ownership situations yet. I think we are far away from that. But I do believe that in 5 years from now, will fintechs have bank ownerships in them in some ways? I see that. Will there be some fintechs who will have some investments in banks going forward? Potentially, yes, also. I think it's going to be interesting how this plays out. But I think there is going to be a very clear view the regulator will have on how these things will work. And I think they are doing the right thing consistently. They're being extremely prudent about how the ecosystem should evolve, like what role each plays. And I think that decision on how some of these things will happen will also kind of have a lot of regulatory point of view on how this should happen.
Yeah, I would imagine that that will be the case. The regulation will play either constraint or unshackle the many opportunities that we just spoke of. But, I want to talk about the headroom for growth, and including this conference and, previous conferences, there are reports that are out there that peg, $1 trillion and $1.5 trillion and so on and so forth. I want to talk about the here and now. You talked about the customer base that you're going after, which is really the top tier, the creamy layer, so to speak. And that is the aspiration, that's what you want to stick with, at least in the interim. But what's the opportunity for the fintech world today? At the end of the day, there is the addressable market, there's the monetizable market, and there is a big dissonance between the two. What is the real opportunity?
Shireen, there are global companies love to come to India because India is the DAU farm or MAU farm of the world.
Yes.
Right? You see that now in global influencers, and celebrities also do some India posts now because it gets them tons of followers, right? ARPUs, unfortunately, are not going to come unless
Nowhere
per capita, right? So there's a data that came out recently that like companies like Meta have, like compared to US, we are like probably 40x or 45x on ARPU delta, right? So we're going to have a long time before we get there. And because of that challenge, the income concentration on the top is going to be even more, and it can be accelerated with COVID even further. Now the truth is, while we may all love to kind of build for India and get a lot of things done for India, the market concentration of revenue and profit pools. So just some data points. Today, if you look at saving account deposits, right? These 35 million households would probably contribute to like 80-85% of all saving deposits, right? And India is a huge country where we should actually see growth across the cohorts, but we do not see that data yet. Today, if you look at the credit will have a strong correlation to ability to pay taxes, ability to pay consistent taxes. That number is public, and you can see the number of people paying taxes is still or filing taxes are like 60-70 million. People who are actually paying some taxes around 30-35 million. So we are still in that vicinity. But there are opportunities in agri where I'm hearing a lot of rural markets are showing extraordinary promise, because now with digital infra, you can create new business opportunities and actually give them access to credit to kind of do well, right? Today, UPI, a lot of UPI acquiring companies are able to provide loans to merchants, but historically not accessible getting credit. So I think the 10-15 years will have a very different shape to more people kind of getting access to credit. Our focus was of people who are credit worthy, give them superior experience. But I think most people becoming credit worthy through different mediums, with account aggregator, with UPI data, with GST data. There is going to be so many interesting opportunities in the merchant space, SME space, where a new set of affluent class is going to get created, and I think we are going to see a shift of that for a long time. However, the factor of the female participation will remain as the nagging factor, because it is declining, and it's not a great thing for the country, which is aspiring to have a $10 trillion ambition. But the per capita income requires like all genders to participate.
They do, and I'm glad that you talked about that, because this is something that I'm deeply passionate about as well, and I completely agree with you. Forget 5-10 trillion, we cannot do it if we don't have half the population participating in the formal economy. Why do you believe in the startup world today, it continues to be so hard for women founders to raise capital, for women founders or for women employees to make it to leadership positions? Do you believe even in a conference like this, we have so few women being represented here on stage?
I think I wish I had great answers to this, and we've discussed this in the past. I wish I can think about what is going on. I think it will require serious conscious effort from everybody in the ecosystem to focus on this and improving this metric as if it matters to all of us, because we cannot just say that, oh, the country needs to do something and our contribution is not meaningful in making this happen. Leadership positions will happen when we are kind of helping, coaching people from the first job to kind of take them along and do more things. There is always going to be this societal pressure of, oh, there is a marriage situation or there is a kid situation, which is kind of are the top triggers of women dropping off a workforce. But I think if we really want to see a society that is super evolved and kind of inclusive in every manner, all of us will have to contribute. In terms of startup ecosystem, I would say that it looks like it's better, at least from anecdotal version of when you look at, let's say, Bangalore as an ecosystem, you see that thing. But again, it comes to tech talent and product talent. If you have come from, like, I'm probably the only non-STEM founder who's in the tech ecosystem. So it was hard for me to raise capital as well. Imagine trying to carry a philosophy degree into trying to raise money. It doesn't help. So I think we need to change these things. And I think capital now is going to require, at least the market we are entering in, it's not going to remain only about idea and pedigree. It's going to require some traction. And I think if you are truly thinking about entrepreneurship, everybody will have to demonstrate some traction, some product market fit before they get serious capital. And I think we are entering a very problematic time in our startup journey of India that nobody believes they can do a startup till they have capital. It's like saying, it's akin to saying that you cannot run till you have Nike shoes. It's not the same. It will make you better at running, it will make you faster at running, but hoping that the only marker of, and unfortunately,
is this the unintended consequence of too much money that's come into the
absolutely,
into the
and
ecosystem?
worship.
And how do you unlearn this? How do you unlearn worshipping unicorns?
Because they are mythical, we should stop worshipping them. We have to worship people who have large profit pools. We have to worship people who have built companies without capital. We should not celebrate people like Kunal Shah way more than what we should be celebrating. There are hundreds of founders who have built very, very profitable companies. They are not even known. I think we tend to glamorize folks who should be not as glamorized, because these become the heroes that we want to chase, and I don't think that's a fair thing to do, because the country always had entrepreneurial spirit. The capital is a new thing.
Capital is, and the kind of capital that we've seen is a new thing, and I'm glad that you talked about unicorns being mythical creatures, because they are, and I think a lot of the bad behavior that's been learned, it would do us well if we unlearn that. What do you do with your money today, Kunal?
I think I had mentioned this before. I do not have any mutual funds, any stocks. I don't invest. I only invest in startups as a way of paying it forward. I don't know how many startups I've invested, but I don't invest for necessarily financial return always. It's about just kind of helping the system move forward. There was a time when I used to meet founders and decide to invest. Now I don't meet them. It's probably email, WhatsApp, and I invest. And I think it gives me a lot of joy to just see. I probably invested in like 70 or 80 fintechs now.
70 or 80 fintechs.
Yeah,
And what is the average ticket size or the check size that you write out?
Small ticket sizes, like maybe at $50,000 or in that range. And the intent is to kind of help in any manner. And I think if you can create 1,000 high quality founders and they are also learning to pay it forward, we'll convert the country from job seekers to job creators. And I think that's going to be an immense moment for us to have, because we're used to only industrialists being treated as business people, and all these people are like having all these glory and this pride. I think if you just create a culture where we encourage entrepreneurship, I mentioned this to you, I'm going to mention this, in Portugal, like if you go to the church, like normally it's only the royalty that are allowed to be having the tomb inside. And now, and then I noticed that all the explorers like Vasco da Gama and others who actually helped take the country forward were also given this special position along with the royalty, and celebrating risk takers. Unless we do that, we are not going to break out as a country, and I think that is one big change that we need to go through.
Well, what is the next big risk that Kunal Shah is willing to take today?
I do that all the time. I think the startups stop becoming a startup when they stop taking risks. So hopefully many new things, many exciting things. We are entering a world where we have new launches by NPCI every day. AI is evolving so quickly. So as an entrepreneur...
What is your big fear? In a world where there is so much disruption, there is so much change, and there is such constant pace of change, what is your big fear today as an entrepreneur?
If I go really fast forward, not as an entrepreneur, I think as humanity, we are not realizing the risk of AI. We see it and we feel it's like a cool demo that we see on ChatGPT and we are done with it. But I can tell you with confidence that 90% of people who have jobs right now today may not have their jobs relevance in 10 years from now. And I don't think humans can upskill so quickly. So a lot of people say, oh, technology has come, computer has come, we all upskilled. But the thing is that this time to upskill is going to be a real challenge, and unless you are a very curious, compounding person, everybody's job's at a risk. So that's what my biggest worry is right now.
That is your biggest worry, and I have to say that I would agree with you as far as that is concerned, because I don't think we quite can imagine the consequences of what this AI and ML world is going to bring upon us at this point in time. But what motivates you today?
I think we are in this exciting time for building for the country. We are going to see a transformation, and there are so many bright young people with so much ambition around you. So I think just seeing people's transformation journey around me, be it entrepreneur, be it my team members, just seeing that is the most exciting thing for me every day.
We've grown up in an environment where it's always the paranoid succeed, and there's so much of an emphasis on constantly being able to do something. Do you ever believe in the value of not doing something? Do you have not doing days on your calendar?
A lot. I have now moved to 2 days a week to not working or not actively doing. I'll tell you why. Because if you really have to see the chessboard, you don't have to be on the chessboard, you have to be away from it. And I think doing nothing is only when the brain connects dots. Doing things are not good for connecting dots. And in a world that is changing so quickly, being busy is going to almost become a curse.
Being busy is going to be almost a curse. I think are we out of time, or do we have a couple of minutes more? So one of the things that we've been deeply passionate about at CNBC for the last 23 years is financial literacy.
Can I use the 2-3 minutes to ask you questions?
You're going to ask me a question?
Yeah, because
we have only 3 minutes left. I have to finish asking you questions.
I should ask a couple questions to you. You have to know about so many industries. I can barely understand what's going on in fintech. How do you keep up with, you meet people from all industries, so many different sectors. What is your method to constantly compound?
Short answer, having the humility to say I don't know it all, and having the ability to absorb like a sponge from whoever I meet. So I will take something away from this conversation, like I did from the previous conversation. And as Mr. Kamath said, I think I truly believe in the value of being a listening organization and being a learning organization, and that is what keeps me going. And I hope that answers in short, the question that you asked me, but I don't want to spend any more time on me because this is about you today. So let me ask you this, 5 years on, 3 years on, 2 years on, IPO on the cards?
I think eventually all companies will have to kind of go down the path of being public. We have the luxury with our investors who are actually quite bullish and are very big growth-oriented investors, and I think we see ourselves kind of keep building on. I don't think we have any timelines right now. Do companies will eventually have to go public? The answer is yes, but at least from the lessons of all the past lessons, I think we want to be in a much more solid position in terms of metrics, profitability before we even think about IPO. And I think at least the way the company is growing right now, our revenue is growing, our unit economics are growing, we feel very confident that hopefully we'll make it at least in the top 500 or 1,000 companies in terms of profit pool size. And I think even if it takes...
By when?
Thankfully, that's why I'm not a public market company. I don't have to answer these questions of which quarter, which year I'm going to be profitable or what scale.
Yes, if you go down that road, that is what you're going to be asked down to the decimal point. But let me end by asking you, Kunal, leave this audience with a snapshot of the journey that you've been able to cover in numbers in the last 5 years. Because at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. You said that CAC is, you've been able to bring down your burn as far as acquisition is concerned. You've been able to convert. You do see a great degree of opportunity. Sum up for me. Leave me with 5 big numbers that symbolize your journey today.
I think we have been able to significantly improve credit scores of close to 15 million customers. We have significantly improved their good financial behavior and not have very high interest rates to same 15 million customers. We've managed to capture maybe 35 to 37% of market in terms of credit card customers on our platform doing different things. And in terms of revenue scale, I would say we are probably in the top 10% of unicorns in terms of their revenue scale in India. And hopefully we'll get to the top 2-3% of unicorns in terms of revenue scale very soon.
Well, that's a good snapshot to give us a sense of the journey covered, but more importantly, also an indication of what is to come next. What is it that you would like to explore from here on? You talked about wanting to be an explorer or being an explorer. What's the next vista that you hope to explore?
There is so much to do. I wish I could be cloning myself and building 10 companies. I wish I could do that. But
if there was one company that you could build today, what would it be?
It has to be something to do with AI, because we are in a very different time of the world where we can actually change.
Is that why you're investing now?
I haven't seen good quality AI companies pitch, so I don't think I've invested in any good companies. But I think
India do good quality AI companies?
I think so. I think it's going to be exciting in terms of the scale. Will we create an LLM? I don't know. I think we are going to try. Many good founders are already kind of trying that. But will we create something on top of that LLM that has been out there and many models exist, not just GPT? We are going to see very high quality companies coming, and India may have some unique advantage because we can actually combine people plus AI in a unique way. So very different set of companies might emerge. We might have a very different software company with a co-pilot of AI. We might have different BPO companies with a co-pilot of things. We might have different call centers, different collection agencies in lending with AI as a co-pilot. So I think we are entering almost a cyborgy time of company building. A cyborgy time of company building. I like the sound of that. I think it's going to give people a lot of food for thought as well. So I'm going to end by asking you, Kunal. We started with philosophy. We'll end there as well. What is the big life lesson that you sort of live by today that you would like to share with this audience? everybody who has achieved anything in the past, in 100 years, they'll be forgotten. So it's important that what you are doing at this point of time makes an impact to people around you. And if they have to think about you when you are not here, they think of you as somebody who actually contributed in a positive manner, and that's what it matters.
Is that the Kunal Shah legacy?
I hope so.
Kunal Shah, thank you very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Kunal Shah of CRED. We wish you the very best of luck, and thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us here this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, can we give a huge round of applause for this candid session where we got exposed to Kunal's chessboard metaphor, perils of AI ML, the future plans, and of course the role reversal we witnessed with Shireen answering some of his questions. It's now time to move.
जब मणिपुर में स्कूलों में राष्ट्रगान नहीं होने देंगे, ये निर्णय किए जाते थे, तब मणिपुर में सरकार किसकी थी? जब एक अभियान चला था, अभियान चला करके लाइब्रेरी में रखी गई किताबों को जलाने का, ये देश का अमूल्य ज्ञान की विरासत को जलाते समय सरकार किसकी थी? जब मणिपुर में मंदिर की घंटी शाम को 4 बजे बंद हो जाती थी, ताले लग जाते थे, पूजा अर्चन करना बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता था, सेना का पहरा लगाना पड़ता था, तब मणिपुर में सरकार किसकी थी? आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, जब इम्फाल के इस्कॉन मंदिर पे बम फेंककर श्रद्धालुओं की जान ले ली गई थी, तब मणिपुर में सरकार किसकी थी? जब अफसर, हाल देखिए, आईएएस आईपीएस अफसर, उनको अगर वहां पर काम करना है तो उनके तनख्वाह का एक हिस्सा उनको इन उग्रवादी लोगों को देना पड़ता था, तब जाकर के वो रह पाते थे, तब सरकार किसकी थी? आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, इनकी पीड़ा सिलेक्टिव है, इनकी संवेदनाएं सिलेक्टिव है, इनका सब बातचीत राजनीति से शुरू होती है और राजनीति से आगे बढ़ती है.
In the credit card business, expectations, sustenance and sustainability, and we're going to cover all of that in just about 30 minutes that we have. So without any further ado, let me again reintroduce to you our guests. We have Sanjeev Moge, the President of Head Cards and Payments at Axis Bank. In the middle we have Madhivanan Balakrishnan, COO at IDFC First Bank, and to the far left corner we have Ravindra Rai, DMD at Bob Financial Solutions. So gentlemen, thank you very much for your time here. And Sanjeev, I'll start with you since you're the closest here. Maybe 10-15 years ago, the allure of the business, the credit card business was very clear. India was a cash-rich economy. It continues to be today, but the expectation was it will digitize very fast, and therefore credit cards is the next big thing. That's where you need to be. But the reality today is so different. The digital payment evolution has happened, but credit cards have sort of been left behind. What do you think, help us set expectations of what the future of this business would be in this very digital world?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Actually interesting because I do look at UPI and cards both, including debit cards. Credit card today, if you were to say that India is growing at credit card spends roughly at 25-30% per year. Balance sheet is growing roughly around that pace. I'm talking about the post-COVID period. Or if you actually take a CAGR over the last, let's say 6 to 8 years, leave out the COVID period in between, the CAGR is roughly 30% plus. That by no stretch is being left behind. In a country where, let's say, the nominal is growing around 12, let's say 11 to 12. If a business is running 3 times of that, a business which is in payments, and now it's very sizable. What we are talking about is roughly monthly spends of 1.4 lakh crore. We are talking about roughly very close to 9 crore credit cards. Now, is it with 3 crore individuals, 4 crore individuals? I don't think it's very clear right now. Let's assume for a minute it's roughly around 3.5, 4 crore individuals. In a country like India, if a product is held by 4 crore individuals, with 9 crore products out there, growing at 30%, And in a country of potential of India, we are by no stretch talking about something which is being left behind by anything at all. With whatever has happened last year, where UPI on credit card also gets started. What we are then talking about, the spend pool today is roughly 1.4 lakh, growing at 25-30. And then you have a spend pool, I'm just talking about UPI P2M, which is roughly 3 lakh crore, growing at 80% plus. All of which can now go on to a credit card. You put all of these things together, it's a very exciting phase. It's a very exciting phase, and with this, yeah, we can go on further.
You know, banks love credit cards because it's one of the most high margin business for them. So, you know, Madhivanan, a more dispassionate view, if you will. You know, perhaps it's not right to think of credit cards as just a physical entity and dismiss them. Tell us how it's evolving. I mean, we just had Kunal Shah tell us 15 million unique users, and I think the overall credit card usage in the country is about 80 million. So that's a large chunk, only digital.
So two things. One, I've been part of the industry for over the last decades. And when we started off in cards business, the economics was very simple. What you are talking about, there were very few customers who were eligible for a credit card. Because it was the ecosystem around our country, whether it be a credit bureau, whether it be the data that was available, you know, the various other processes were all physical. There is a huge, and the economics of the business was extremely high. So while you are talking about the fact that it's a very lucrative business, the efforts and the costs that go behind it, especially in a market where credit was not yet established, you wouldn't know whether person 1 will default or person 2 will default. And the mechanisms of evaluating how much is this person earning, which we call the capacity to repay, were all in its very, very early stages. I mean, that was circa 1999, 2000. And today we are sitting in 2023. You're talking about cards being left behind. I genuinely do not believe so, because we are still, the numbers which Samir just quoted, you're still talking about, what, 5.5 to 6% of penetration of the total market?
5.5%.
Yeah. So look at the eligible story which is still pending. And this is in spite of the fact that we have a very mature credit bureau. We have rule engines which are available on the cloud. Tech has sort of picked up. The acquiring business, which is wherein the number of places where you could go and spend, use your credit card, has dramatically grown up. And in my mind, I think UPI and credit card is only just going to expand it dramatically. You're talking about 30 times usage. Even assuming that the numbers don't go beyond the 9 crore that we spoke, the opportunity for customers to spend is be mind-boggling. And that's the growth. So you don't look at credit cards as a growth only from the numbers perspective, but also from the opportunity to spend. But the money does not lie in these two. If you look at interchange, it's going down. If you look at fees, it's going down. But what is coming into the picture is this unique story of, how do I put it, the ability to underwrite credit better. The heart of a credit card is the underlying credit line that you give to anybody. If you're able to, you know, evaluate that perfectly and give it to the right customer, then the entire unit economics of this industry changes. Today, it's very difficult for me to issue a plastic, which is with all the paraphernalia of credit, etc., rewards, etc., to a person with a 10,000 rupee credit line. It's just not viable. How much will he spend? What are the costs involved in repayment, etc., etc. But the moment I look at a 35 or 40,000 rupee credit line, it starts making sense. In today's world, that unit economics can change because you have the opportunity to issue digital credit cards. It could just be a virtual number on your mobile phone. You can experiment. And in my mind, I think that is what UPI will do. So economics still remain reasonably okay. I wouldn't say very, very profitable. It's showing a downward trend, but the opportunity is really huge. And whether you, like I told you, interchange, more or less coming down, fee income going off, revolver percentage is coming down, which means while you might all look at the 42 and the 48% and say what a wonderful business this is, but the number of people who revolve is much lower out of the total base. So
just for our audience again, revolving customers are the ones that are not paying their bills on time, and they're often charged usurious, if I would say, interest rates for delays in payments, and that's where the money is for Madhivanan, and he's very happy with that. But indulge me, if you will. You know, while Madhivanan said, don't look at the numbers yet, why is the penetration still at 5.5%? There is a reason. You know, you're, as a bank, as Bob, Are you going to look to expand or, give your credit cards to even 80-90% of this population? Because you look at the credit worthiness, this is not a debit card. You're issuing credit to someone and you're going to assess their worthiness. So tell us in numbers what the addressable market itself is before we try and understand what the penetration is.
Well, Ritu, thank you. I think the answer is in your question. You just spoke about 5% penetration. I look at it 95% where we can reach out to. Although it's a very ambitious figure that we're talking about, but look at the scope that's available in the market today. For example, we are looking at the Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 cities going up, and with UPI coming in, CC coming on UPI, this is the best thing to happen. For example, if today I'm with the circular coming in, the October circular coming in where there is 30 plus 7 days coming in, it would be very difficult for us to reach out to the Tier 2, Tier 3 cities because the couriers don't reach there. But with the digital card coming, like how he says, we can send the digital card across and get this activated. So that for me, the next big thing in the card space is the Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 cities. Because initially when CC came on credit card, we thought there's no much spends going to come in. So we were just having a conversation in the office and we were just looking at the behavior. And then we could see that in the CC used on UPI was initially hardly around 100 rupees or 200 rupees. And the same person started going up to 2,000, 3,000 rupees. So it is slowly going up. And for me, the biggest market today would be the Tier 2, Tier 3 cities if we get our
What is
game
that
right.
number out of 1.4 billion?
Sorry?
What is the number across Tier 1, 2 and 3 cities? The total addressable market out of 1.4 billion strong population, what is the addressable market for the credit card business?
Well, see, as of now, it is, totally based on your CIBIL, which is going to be
There you go.
defining factor. So that's the defining factor which is going to be there. And I think I don't want to put a number right now, but I feel there's a huge, opportunity available here.
Madhivanan does seem to want to put a number.
No, see, typically if you're talking about 5.5, if I were to take a benchmark, I would say how many people pay income tax returns? That's one. But in a country like ours, where we do not, that number has not been growing at a breakneck speed, I don't know the exact number, but the opportunity to come out with new product variants, like a secured card, which is, look at the way FDs have been going up in the banking industry.
Yeah.
Imagine a scenario where people who are not eligible for credit are willing to give their fixed deposit as a collateral, not on a 1:1 basis, but 1:2, 1:3. It's almost like individual is giving me an FLDG to give him a line.
Yeah.
If we can find mechanisms to play that game, what you're saying, why can't I give it to all the 1.4 billion people? Anybody who understands the nuances of a credit card, is a reasonably aware customer, can be issued a credit. Let me just give you an example. If we call it the new to credit as an entity.
The first time users.
Yeah, the first time guys. If they were to come and apply, the approval rate in the industry, that is people who get the card, is not more than 17 to 20% at best. Even the most, because that's the way the business dynamics works. But if I were to find a mechanism where I can seamlessly link it with a fixed deposit, and all the big banks have huge pools and customers have it across, if there is a mechanism where I can mark a lien on a certain amount and issue a line so that he is able to build a credit track record, etc., potential is enormous. I mean, it's huge. I mean, suddenly the 5.5 is going to sit at, maybe 50% of the penetration that we're talking about.
Well, we're going to see what IDFC First Bank is going to do with the credit card business. Please do watch out for that one. But Sanjeev, let me come back to you on, because, there's one common theme all three of you spoke about is UPI, UPI, UPI. I'm only asking you about the credit card business. So let me ask you this. The perception in the market is that this tremendous growth of UPI that we've been seeing, 10 billion transactions in the last month, is it coming at the cost of cards, especially credit cards? Maybe some of you disagree, but I'd like to hear why, because what is it that you cannot do on UPI that you could get on credit cards, leaving aside the rewards, of course, which is always the big lure?
Okay. See, I think everybody wants to ask a question as to who's going to win it all, right? Is it going to be credit card, debit card, UPI, etc.?
No, you all live happily together ever after, yes.
Okay, so let's just get into what's clearly going to lose. That's debit. If you were to look at the data for last 2-3 years, credit card
debit card usage has been,
So credit card is continuing to grow at 25 to 30. Each bank may have its own kind of rate. The industry is roughly in this 25-30 ballpark. UPI, P2M, I'm just talking about, I'm not talking about UPI, is growing at 80% plus, 90 thereabouts. Debit is degrowing. Debit couple of years back
30% between
degrew,
the
now
last
it's
year and this.
degrowing even. So the rate of degrowth is also accelerating.
Yeah.
With that context, so it's very clear debit will incrementally continue to lose out. UPI will continue to gain market share. Credit card will continue to be very popular amongst people who have a credit card, and it will still remain an aspirational product in India for maybe next at least decade plus, etc. By which time it may just become very, very kind of common to have a credit card. But even then, if you have access to credit and you have access to rewards,
Yeah.
and you have an interest-free period, these three combinations are very, very strong. I will not say unbeatable, but these are very strong combos if you put into one product. And the only product which has all three of these is a credit card. Now you still need to do it sensibly, you still need to do it at a fair CAC, you still need to be able to make money, because this is largely the only money-making business in this whole payments business. Acquiring doesn't make money, debit virtually today doesn't make money, UPI is just about. So this is the only business which makes money, which means you have to run it also pretty sensibly.
Yes.
So within this, is something going to win it all? No. India is a large country, very large country. Credit card and UPI will continue to do well for many, many years.
What will credit on UPI do? How big of a game changer is that going to be on the system? Is UPI not just a competitor, but a leg on which credit cards will be able to grow? And right now, it's only allowed with RuPay. The idea, of course, is to expand it to other card networks later. Sajid, yeah.
See, networks won't come in, the fact that it's only one network as compared to, let's say, 3 or 4,
It's just
I
a
don't
starting
think that,
point.
I don't think that constrains it at all. That's a different factor. But let's just get into what happens as UPI comes in. The point Madhi was making earlier is, in India, people who have, merchants who have terminals, that number is close to 6 to 7 million, right? 60, 70 lakhs. India is a massive country. Suddenly, how many points accept a UPI with that QR, etc.? It's upwards of 2-3 crore. Now, why should that acceptance point only be to a bank account? Moment you can debit it to a credit card and you're out there shopping for a vegetable, you're out there paying for something, etc., and you can debit it to a credit card, suddenly you get interest free, you get rewards, all of that factor, I will do it. I may choose not to do it, it's a separate matter. The spend pool, what we were talking about, addressable market, leave the market expansion. Today, the addressable market for a credit card from a spend perspective instead of 1.4 lakh, suddenly becomes 4.5 lakh crore. This 1.4 by next year, say, organically becomes 1.8 to 1.9. The 3 is going to become 6. Okay, shade short of 6. Let's say 5.5. That's huge. We are talking about per month numbers of 7 lakh crore. Who will win amongst the players, etc., etc., is a separate one. The idea is, it is a big one. Obviously, it will take time. It will take time for customers, it will take time for merchants, all of that stuff. But this is what we are sitting on today. Then all the factors, secured card, market expansion, all of it sits on top of this. So that's why when I say this is really exciting point, even for credit cards and leave for credit cards, I'm just saying for all of payments, it is genuinely so.
Ravindra, do you think, this is significantly going to expand the credit card market? The new, and we had NPCI announce this yesterday, credit cards linked to UPI. What will it do to the system?
Yeah, see, definitely yes. It will be reaching the areas where credit card was difficult to reach, as I spoke to you about initially. But the big differentiator between credit on UPI and credit card on UPI would be the 50-day window that you get. Now that's a big window that you get, the between 30 to 50-day window. So I think that would be the real thing, and also these the reward points that you get on the credit card. So these are the things that would still be very relevant, in whichever times that we look at.
Well, the lure of cards, I think you can best see it at airport lounges. The queues there are longer than the queues here at the fintech lunch tables. But Madhi Manan, you spoke about the cost economics briefly. But if you could give us an example, very simply for us to understand without any complicated jargons, how much does it cost to issue a credit card today? And as it evolves into a digital form, how will that change the economics for you compared to, say, what you make versus payments through UPI?
I'll put it at a very macro level. Like we said, only 17 to 20% get approved. So if 100 people apply, 20 people get approved. But the cost is on all the 100 people. Because somebody has to go and meet you, make calls, etc., etc.
Too many calls, I say.
That's why I didn't want to, it's a bit of provocative, but that's the way the world is changing. A typical acquisition could range anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500.
Per person.
Per customer acquired. Now that's what is typically we call as cost of acquisition. I'll also contrast it with what is it that UPI can do as we go along. Next comes RBI's rules are extremely stringent. Even after the customer has been originated, if he does not activate the card within a month, 31 days, technically you cannot assume that the card is alive. So look at the economics all over again. If I acquire 100% and only 80 or 85% of them actually use the card within 30 days, I'm losing out that 15. So the dynamics is changing again. Then you start spending on the card, which is what gives you interchange, which ranges anywhere between 0.6 to maybe 1.8. That's where the merchants come in, and that's where the UPI, the reason I'm going with this, because UPI plays in a very different dynamics. Yeah. Then finally comes whether this gentleman pays back the money on time or not.
You're hoping he doesn't.
But
Eventually pays.
65 to 70% of the people are like me, who pay on time. I mean, actually give an auto debit on the back.
So you're giving them a free loan without.
Not only that, I'm
any
giving you
interest.
that lounge access. I'm giving you waiting somebody to meet and greet. I'm giving you product features like 2 tickets free in XYZ site.
But you're betting on the remaining not paying the money on time.
No,
and
you're not
giving
putting
you
words. You're putting
20-30% interest rates.
I'm putting words into the mouth. Then comes the final story. After, let's assume some of them revolve. You don't make money till the money comes back to you, which is where the collection story plays out. Now, this is how the physical world of the UPI economics continues. So if you do not have huge numbers and a big book, like an HDFC or an Axis or an ICICI, you do not, the business does not become viable. You have to build an annuity model. Let's take today's condition. A UPI is able to do, we were talking about the numbers, 1.4 or 1.5 lakh crores is what we do on a monthly basis in terms of credit card spends. Debit is around 50,000.
And UPI is 15 lakh crores.
Yeah, 15. But a big chunk is P2P, where I'm making payments to you, etc. At a zero interchange cost, so there is no underlying economics. But this is throwing out a huge base of data. Now, when I'm giving credit card online, I'm using it primarily as an acquiring mechanism. That is to increase the usage. But imagine the data that is getting generated. If there are mechanisms, whether what Kunal did in terms of payment or whether the UPI transactions, there are models which can be built wherein I can give more cards to people. It's opening up a new dynamics. My cost of acquisition will come down. I'll be able to give lower lines of credit. Maybe better revolver. Maybe the interest rates will come down because the book starts building up. So this, while I might still continue to give rewards, because that's what, because see, in my mind, cards is not a physical plastic. It is a club that you're getting into because of the way you behave, because of your affluence in the society. UPI is making that more accessible. And as you come up, maybe in the upper echelons of the pyramid is where products like cards play a role. So I think that's how it will evolve.
Well, since you brought up recovery and, what is the general delinquency levels? If you could just give our audience a sense. People do end up paying back with a delay, but how much of it just doesn't come back?
A tough question. Over the last 20 years, I've seen two big cycles. The one cycle was around 2008-2010, where the entire industry lost huge numbers. But touch wood, I think with bureaus and all coming in, those numbers were almost as high as 8%. 8% of your total book was getting into loss. But believe me, we have seen that world, a big chunk of that money came back. Maybe not within the 90 days, maybe not within the 180 days, which is the norms. But over a 2-3 year period, it came back. Why? Because every time the guy went and wanted to go and buy an auto loan or a mortgage, he realized that he had a default in his credit card which was sitting in the bureau. Yeah. And the recovery happened. Now today, because of that kind of a credit discipline, strong monitoring tools, the numbers at a gross NPL level is ranging in the range of 2, 2.2, net maybe even lesser than 1, NCL even at a slightly lesser numbers. So the business is able to touch wood, we are in a very benign credit kind of an environment. But at the same time, the kind of controls, the day instead of 20% approval, I start doing 80% approval, you know what will happen to this underlying numbers. So that's how it's playing out.
Well, Sanjeev, a quick word on the regulation as well, because a lot has changed for the credit cards in just the last couple of years. The most recent one, of course, is card portability. So a customer can choose whether I want a RuPay card, a Visa card, or a MasterCard. Then the credit card rules that came in last year, for instance, he said you have to activate it within a certain period. If they're unused for a period of 1 year, you have to sort of deactivate them. Tell us how this environment is shaped up and whether it is enabling or, hurting the growth of the industry.
Okay, I think we just are pretty used to new regulations coming out. Also because we have to understand it's an evolving market. There is no social security, so the regulator will at all points of time be very concerned about two things. One is customer protection. Two is digital security. So yeah, the last regulation out was the master directions which came out around last year, July, August. The portability one is a circular. Oh, sorry, they have asked for recommendations. And we've written, yeah, it's a proposal. It's a draft proposal. So we'll see what shape and form it takes. So that's one is out in the future. I do remember when master directions came out, there were a lot of calls saying, is this not the death knell kind of stuff, but is it going to significantly change the industry? My view even then was it will not. There will be a new normal, so now you have to close cards which are inactive in 30 days, or you have to close cards which are inactive over 1 year after the year. But those cards do not spend, those cards do not carry a balance sheet. Yeah, you've taken the cost on them, you have to recognize that and take it out. But nothing in the basic dynamics of the industry has changed.
Right.
The industry was growing at 18, 19 lakh cards a month. The industry is now growing at 12 to 13 lakh cards a month. There is market share earlier, there is market share now.
Sure.
So not much has changed in the basic dynamics. Regulations will continue to come. Regulations will continue to come in direction of customer security and just customer friendliness. Second, in direction of digital security. And three, with the data privacy bill coming out in the area of consent and all privacy of customer data.
Well, security and privacy of data, of course, has been a paramount concern with cards. But, since we're running out of time, a quick last one-line answer from all of you. If you were to look into the future about the biggest trend that is going to completely change the way credit cards as we see it today, what would that one thing be? Ravin, to start with you. In a few years from now.
Well, in a few years from now, you want to say how...
The one big trend or one big technology that will completely change the way we see the cards industry today.
See, AI is the biggest thing that's going to define. And also AI, and plus also what I feel like how the machine learning, every usage, every person who gets into today everyone is into social media. So I think that would be one of the ways where the spends and the way the interest of everyone is going to be assessed. So I think the social media is going to be a big game changer when it comes to credit cards.
I believe that's already being used. Madhivanan?
I'll say two trends. One, tokenization, which is effectively converting the plastic into a digital token.
Yeah.
The reason being that, and we are just starting.
But 1 year now.
Yeah, but it has the ability to sort of embed yourself in all your payment journeys. So suddenly this difference between UPI, credit card wouldn't matter because you're tokenizing your line. And the second is data. While we spoke about machine learning, I think data's ability to help me underwrite, to help me give the right proposition, both will dramatically expand. These are the two trends which I think...
Sanjeev, final word?
Good, I got some time to think through. Okay, so one is obviously a lot of things will change, but output will be in terms of three metrics as I would see. One, the balance sheet today in India is close to $30 billion, around 2.2 lakh crore. So this will, my sense is, cross $1 trillion. US market right now is $1 trillion, by the way, on cards balance sheet. I'm talking about a time frame which is roughly 2030 plus minus 2 years. Second point, at that point of time, my sense is you will have cards largely being transacted digitally. Yeah. Equally, the merchant acceptance points will be digital. It's digital even today, but the POS machines may be replaced by something else. So that's the second factor as I would see. And third one is, even with all this, I would think the card's profitability trends will continue.
All right. On that note, if there's any question in the audience, we can perhaps take one or two at most. Otherwise, we'll quickly wrap this up. There's a gentleman there in a pink shirt. If we could get a mic to him, please, quickly.
Hi, Sanjeev, my question is to you. So on debit cards, you said it's of course declining, but two parts of it. One is, do you think the withdrawal now through UPI, is that the final nail in the coffin? And second part is, do you think there is a possibility or lobbying possible even on debit on UPI?
See, debit on UPI is already there, right? You're debiting your bank account. There is no difference between debiting a bank account and debiting a debit card because finally the money goes out of your bank account. So
yeah, but if you swipe your card today on a terminal and you know that the terminal reach is much lower than the UPI acceptance point, which you mentioned, you gave the figures. But if debit actually comes in, then you're actually increasing those many points.
Okay, so let me take the second one first and then we'll go back to the... if I remember the first question again. When you're doing a QR scan and debiting taking a UPI instrument to debit, you are finally debiting your bank account. When you're swiping a debit card, you're also doing the same. So there is no difference. There is no difference between saying I'll debit UPI or I'll debit debit card, because it's finally going to the same instrument. The first question was, is UPI on ATM the final? Okay, there is no coffin, there is no last nail. Okay. It's a large country. You have to understand, it's a humongously large country. Everything will coexist at different rates of growth. Just because a particular state starts growing fast doesn't mean some other state dies, right? Similarly, credit card is growing, UPI is growing faster, does not mean debit card will die. It will keep degrowing faster and faster. It is the only way to access your bank account, by the way, today. Out there. It will remain. How prevalent is it 10 years later? Yeah, that we'll wait and see.
Okay, one final question. We have, can we have the mic this side somewhere?
Hello. Yeah, hi. My name is Mayank. I wanted to understand, if we compare mature markets like US or Europe, India is lacking way behind in terms of credit card penetrations. Now, India has already adapted the QR codes and UPI payment forms. So do you think would we be moving towards credit card more, or it's going to be only QR based UPI payments?
No, I think you're confusing two things. In my mind, QR, EDC machines, sound boxes, these are all concepts which is giving you more opportunity for products like UPI, debit card, credit cards to be utilized. Credit card comes in when I'm able to give a line behind it. So I think the yesterday's launch, which was not the credit card line, not the UPI on a credit card, but a standalone credit line on UPI, is something which will become a sort of a 2 notches lower than a credit card, and therefore will help people come up this curve. So Europe, and they never had the advantage. So we have this fantastic opportunity to leap ahead multifold. Correct. And all the stakeholders come together. So I am very bullish.
Okay, it's almost 3 o'clock. We can take one last question. There's a gentleman in the back there in a blue shirt. This is the last question. We are unable to hear you. Yeah.
So you spoke about secured cards. Why secured cards have not taken up, and what would be like? How do we make them more popular for inclusiveness?
Two things. I think secure cards have not become popular because of the process which is involved. It is the only product which combines a credit card along with a deposit account, in this case a term deposit. Not only that, it is also, you're supposed to mark a lien on it. So this entire process is very cumbersome. In the good old days, it used to happen physically. Today, thanks to a lot of digitization is happening, it's progressing. That's one. So one is a process. On the other side is banks, fintechs, we will all have to think through and find out what is the proposition. Why would somebody want to keep a certain amount of money in lien to have a credit card? I think the same thing, the club proposition, etc. If you can bundle all this together and make it worthwhile, then I think secured card will take off in a nice way.
Well, that would certainly save the regulator also a lot of trouble. We've been hearing the RBI, we've been hearing banks talk about concerns with the fast growth and unsecured segments. But thank you very much, Ravindra, Madhivanan and Sanjeev, for sharing your thoughts, for being so candid and being a sport. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking with all of you, and thank you for being a wonderful audience.
Thank you so much, Ritu.
some of the large deal wins the sector has seen so far. Rima, take it away. Rima, take it away.
Thanks so much for that. There is macro uncertainty, there is a global downturn.
Has seen so far. Rima, take it away.
Thanks so much for that. There is macro uncertainty, there is a global downturn.
To put the spotlight on some of the large deal wins the sector has seen so far. Rima, take it away.
Thanks so much for that.
Thank you very much.
Stock price gains and how the IT stocks have outperformed. Let me also leave you with the valuation play for the large cap IT companies. Back to you guys.
Rima, thank you.
Stock price gains and how the IT stocks have outperformed. Let me also leave you with the valuation play for the large cap IT companies. Back to you guys.
Rima, thank you very much for that interesting kind of information on IT, and I'll Rima, let you pose a question on IT to Shiv Sehgal, who's our next guest. He's joining us now, President and Head of Novama. Shiv, good to have you with us here. Thank you very much for your time. We had a discussion on mid caps, small caps with two fund managers yesterday, and we looked at, I don't know if you saw that, but we had Pankaj Tibrewal and Tahir Badshah talking to us about that space. And we looked at, mid caps relative to large caps as a percentage of the total free float market cap and historical valuations and everything. You are looking at this in a different way. You're bringing in the global comparison here, and you seem to be saying that globally mid caps have not done very well, and it's an India phenomenon, and you're kind of drawing that comparison, saying that it doesn't last. Explain, Shiv. I mean, one would imagine, especially smaller companies can be impacted by local trends more, right? Larger companies, I mean, the trends are similar. What's happening in the US will happen sometime here, and I mean, I guess vice versa. But does it necessarily have to be true for seen so far. Rima, take it away. Has seen so far. Rima, take it away. So far. Rima, take it away.
काय वन्स मोर घ्यायचंय? वन्स मोर घ्यायचंय का? नक्की. मग थर लावायचे, थर पण नाही लावायचे. अरे मग करायचं काय? या ठिकाणी प्राजक्ता गायकवाड यांनी दिलेल्या परफॉर्मन्स बद्दल खूप खूप धन्यवाद. असाच परफॉर्मन्स दरवेळेस आमच्याकडे